sermon, I'm not really sure. Oh, I say, I like the picture. Oh, thank you, James. That was very good. I'm not really sure what this sermon's about. It was about something different when I preached it at the 1 o'clock, and I know that's not what it's about this time. At the 1 o'clock, it was, in some ways, it was a very academic analysis of what serpents mean in our faith, and re-examining the way we look at serpents, and how we think of the serpent as latter-day Protestant peoples, or latter-day Catholic peoples, and where all that came from. Well, that's really important, but that's not the message I want to preach solely today. I want to preach a message which is based upon an idea which comes to the surface every now and again in human life, and then is forgotten, and it's been called in the past the brotherhood of man. More inclusively, the family of humanity. And this comes to the forefront every now and again, every 30 or 40 years. And then it is smashed to pieces, and it's every man for himself and every woman for himself. In the faith life, too, fragmentation and the building of walls between people supposedly of different beliefs, when really they're just people of different intellectualized interpretations of a core belief that is sometimes so deep that you can't adequately speak about it. Using your tongue, using your mouth, using words. So what do? We waffle, we blather, we make up a million different things to set us aside from everyone else. We are the people that believe this, and this. Everyone else, they're godless heathens because they don't believe that. When really, if we were to strip away the outside layers, strip away the constructs of the intellect, and look deep inside human souls, oh goodness, we're all the people that believe this. We are all the people that believe this, that have that same spark, that hunger, that yearning for God deep within us, and everything else is gravy. Everything else has flown from that. Well, let's find out some interesting and challenging details about this reading. But let's first start off with how it has always been understood, and how it is still to be understood. We have no idea what fiery serpents were. Some academics say that this was a first recorded case of mass hysteria. And we know that in mass hysteria it takes the actions of sometimes one person to speak the calming word, and it dissipates. Mass hysteria can make everyone ill in an entire town. The tarantella was a dance designed to expiate the bite of the tarantula in Italy, even though there were no tarantulas in Italy. But in medieval periods, they used to believe that there were plagues of these things, and the whole town would believe they'd been bitten by tarantulas. And they used to have to dance the tarantella to work the venom out of themselves. Well, of course, we know in our clever 21st century way that that doesn't exist. Well, the fact is, human pain does exist. It doesn't really matter how it comes about. Whether it comes from in here or whether it comes from outside, it's still human pain. So whatever the fiery serpents were, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that Moses had healing. That Moses lifted up the brazen serpent, and all who looked on it were healed. Now, for those of us who are from a Christian background, we go, that rings a bell. Because of course there is symmetry. There is balance. There is this beautiful completion between the raising of the brazen serpent and healing the Israelites to the raising of the awful tree with Jesus the Christ nailed upon it to heal the whole world, to heal the new Israel, the Israel of the second covenant, which is everybody. But what does that mean? We understand that it's deeply satisfying on many different levels to see that completion. But what does it mean? What does a raising of the cross mean? It's not magic. It's not hocus pocus. What does it mean? Well, it is example. And it is more than example, it is inspiration. It is that Jesus ends the cycle of sacrifice and scapegoating by raising himself up as the symbol. Here is where it ends. The sacrifice once and for all. I will not let others give their life for my life. I will not be the cause of the insurrection where tens of thousands die and examples are made by the Romans. I give my life freely. I choose love over death. I choose love over power. I choose love over comfort. Ultimately, I choose love over my life on earth. And the raising up of that tree with Jesus the Christ upon it effectively heals all who look upon it. All who look upon it. And when we consider such love, we look upon it and are healed. But more than this, because to everyone except Protestant and Catholic folks living in the 18th or 19th or 20th or 21st century, it would have been very unlikely that they would have looked at a serpent and thought Satan, or looked at a serpent and thought evil. To most people, especially to ancient Jews, the serpent meant wisdom. The serpent meant intelligence. And the serpent, funnily enough, has meant many different things to many different cultures. But there is one common thread. And this is why I'm going to preach today about the brotherhood of man. Because instead of our faith being something that divides us from everyone else, we can, if we take a really reckless perspective, see that our faith is something that unites us to everybody else, because our faith has been organic development. Our faith has grown from other faiths. Our faith is linked to other faiths. The people of the book are not the only ones who are linked. The people of the book are the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims, and they're called the people of the book because they hold the Old Testament to be holy. But there are other connections, surprising connections. The ancient Sumerians lived 2,000 years before Genesis was first written down. And yet we find in the ancient Sumerian scriptures and writings a chthonic serpent. Chthonic means primordial, original, before everything else. Sometimes a pair, who lives in or is coiled around the tree of life, situated in a divine garden. That's rather familiar, isn't it? A serpent coiled around a tree in a divine garden. Well, you see, to many modern Christians, it's deeply worrying and challenging, the idea that such a formative and foundational story of Christianity is in all probability from a Sumerian myth of nearly 2,000 years earlier. What does that mean to us? It shouldn't frighten us and challenge us. It should delight us that the barriers between us and Stone Age peoples living 4,500 years ago are as nothing. That our basic analysis of truth is reliant upon the same allegories that have within them truths which we consider still valuable nearly 5,000 years later. That they pondered upon the truth of the same stories that we read today. That we, rather than thinking, oh, our faith, our house of cards is going to come tumbling down because one of those cards has been removed, well, I have to tell you, and it's my duty as a pastor to tell you, that if your faith rests upon such things, which can be easily disproven by visiting a library, then it is no faith at all. It is a dangerous weakness for your faith in God to be reliant upon something that can be disproved just by doing a little research. It is deadly dangerous because one day the baby will be thrown out with the bathwater. One day you will throw out the precious glories of the Christian faith because you discover that there was also a guy in ancient Sumerian myth, in Gilgamesh, who was the only man chosen by the gods to survive a worldwide flood, who also built a large ship and put his family and 2 of each kind of animal in it. And you will think, but it's Noah. And then if we think, which also happens to be true, that one of our psalms is actually